The storm hit hard that night. The sky was dark, filled with angry clouds that flashed with silver lightning. Rain poured over the small metal shelter at the edge of Outpost 19, a forgotten colony on the cold edge of human space. Inside, a man sat alone beside a weak fire. His name was Elias Kaur, a retired engineer, and one of the last humans still living on this ruined world. He didn't expect visitors. No one ever came here anymore, but then. There was a knock. It was soft at first, like a ghost tapping the metal door. Then again, harder, desperate. Elias frowned, grabbed his pulse rifle, and walked to the door. When he opened it, he froze. There, in the rain, stood a woman and a small child. The woman looked thin, her clothes torn from travel. Her hair was wet and messy, sticking to her pale face. She held her daughter close, a little girl no older than 7, her big eyes glowing faintly blue in the dark. Alien eyes. Elias realized instantly. The child wasn't fully human. Please. The woman's voice trembled. Please, just one night. Just one night inside. She's hungry. Elias stared at her, his jaw tightening. The war between humans and hybrids had ended years ago, but the hate still lived on. Half-bloods weren't welcome anywhere. Not by humans. Not by aliens. Who are you? He asked. My name is Mara, she said softly. And this is my daughter Leary. We've been walking for days. I can pay. She reached into her small bag and pulled out something. A silver necklace, old and valuable. Just one night with me, she whispered, her voice shaking. Feed my daughter, please. Elias froze again. He understood what she meant, and he hated it. The look in her eyes told him she wasn't begging for herself. She was ready to trade her dignity for her daughter's safety. For a long moment, only the sound of rain filled the silence. Then Elias sighed. He lowered his weapon and stepped aside. Get in, he said quietly. Mara hesitated. You'll let us stay? I said get in. No deals, no payments. Just get inside before the cold kills you both. Tears welled in her eyes, and she nodded quickly, pulling her daughter in. The door shut behind them, cutting off the sound of the storm. The warmth hit them instantly. The small heater hummed in the corner, and the faint smell of food filled the air. Elias poured some broth into 2 metal cups and handed them over. Leary drank fast, her small hands shaking. Mara tried to slow her down, but Elias stopped her. Let her eat, he said. No child should be hungry like that. For the first time that night, Mara smiled. Thank you. Elias said nothing. He just watched the two of them, the mother and the hybrid child, sitting quietly near the fire. They didn't belong here, yet somehow. They did. He hadn't spoken to anyone in months. Not since the outpost was abandoned. And now, suddenly, this broken little family had walked into his world. Where are you headed? Elias finally asked. Anywhere safe, Mara said softly. They found out about Leary's blood. They killed her father. We've been running ever since. Elias clenched his fists. He'd seen what the world had become, a place where kindness was rare, and mercy even rarer. Outside, thunder rolled again, shaking the metal walls. Leary yawned, curling up beside the fire. Within minutes, she was asleep. Mara looked at Elias, her voice trembling. I didn't mean to offend you with what I said earlier. I didn't know what else to offer. Elias stared into the fire for a long time before answering. You don't owe me anything, he said. But if you stay, you follow my rules. No lies, no trouble. Understand? She nodded slowly. I understand. The storm outside grew louder, and the firelight flickered across their faces. For the first time in years, Elias felt something stir inside him, a feeling he thought he'd buried long ago. He didn't know it yet. But this night would change everything, because the woman wasn't who she claimed to be. And the child, the quiet, glowing-eyed girl, carried Something inside her that could shift the balance of the galaxy itself. The storm outside was nothing compared to the one that was coming. The storm ended before dawn. But the silence it left behind was heavy, almost unnatural. Elias woke early, the old habit of a soldier who never trusted quiet mornings. He found Mara still awake, sitting near the dying fire. The soft orange light touched her face, and for the first time, he saw the deep lines of exhaustion under her eyes. Leary slept peacefully beside her, curled up under Elias's old blanket. The child's faint blue glow pulsed slowly, like the rhythm of a heartbeat. Elias poured 2 cups of water and handed one to Mara. "You didn't sleep," he said. She shook her head. "Couldn't. Every time I close my eyes I see them." "The ones chasing you?" Mara nodded. "Not humans." "Not exactly. Mercs. They work for a group called the Purity Order. They hunt people like Leary, half human, half something else. They think her kind is a sin." Elias frowned. He'd heard the name before. Purity fanatics, human extremists who still believed in cleansing the species. They'd burned colonies, wiped out families, and called it holy work. "She's just a child." Elias muttered. "They don't care," Mara said softly. "They think she carries alien corruption in her blood. But they don't know what she really carries." Her words caught his attention. "What does that mean?" Mara hesitated, her eyes flicking toward her sleeping daughter. "Nothing. Forget it." But Elias didn't forget. Something in her voice, that small crack of fear, told him there was more to this than just a mother and daughter on the run. He stood up and looked outside through a small crack in the door. The storm had left deep mud tracks, and among them, he noticed fresh prints, boots, several pairs. His stomach tightened. They weren't alone. By mid-morning, the sky turned pale gray. Mara tried to keep Leary busy by showing her an old data cube she carried, a tiny holographic projector that displayed stories and songs from before the war. Leary laughed at the flickering lights, her giggles echoing softly through the shelter. For a moment, Elias almost forgot the danger. The sound of a child's laughter in this broken world felt like something sacred, a sound he hadn't heard in years. But peace never lasts. Suddenly, the alert light above the door blinked red. A motion signal. Someone was out there. Elias grabbed his pulse rifle and gestured to Mara. "Get her inside the storage room, now." She obeyed instantly, pulling Leary close. The little girl looked confused but didn't cry. She seemed to sense the tension, her glowing eyes dimming as if trying to hide their light. Elias crouched by the door, his heartbeat steady but his mind racing. The outer sensors flickered again, 3 signatures. Moving slow and cautious, trained, not scavengers. He opened the intercom switch near the door and called out, "Outpost 19 is off limits. Turn back." No response. Only static. Then, a voice broke through, deep and cold. "We're just looking for a woman and a child. Turn them over, and we'll leave." Mara's hand gripped Elias's arm from behind. Her whisper was shaky. "Please, don't let them take her." Elias stared at her, at the fear in her eyes, the trembling in her hands. Something inside him hardened. He turned back to the door. "No one here by that description," he said evenly. "You got the wrong place." The voice laughed. "Funny, we tracked them right to your gate." Then the first shot came. A plasma bolt hit the metal door, sending sparks flying. The blast threw Elias backward, smoke filling the room. Leary screamed. Mara pulled her into the storage room, shielding her with her body. Elias grabbed his rifle, eyes burning, and took position near the door. The attackers were trying to force their way in, 3 of them. Maybe more. He fired once through the metal slit, the rifle's pulse cracking through the air. A shout followed. "One down." Outside, boots splashed in the mud. 2 more voices shouted orders. The door shook under another blast. Mara crawled out of the storage room, holding something, a small glowing cube. "Take this," she said. "If they break through, it'll buy us a few seconds." "What is it?" Elise shouted. "Something her father made." "Don't ask, just throw it when I tell you." Another explosion shook the outpost. The wall panels rattled. Elias took aim, sweat dripping from his brow. Mara glanced back at her daughter, whispering something Elias couldn't hear. Then she turned to him. "When I say now, open the door." "What?" "You'll get killed." Her voice was firm. "Trust me." The pounding grew louder, metal bending under pressure. The next second would decide everything. Outside, a voice shouted, "Final warning." Elias met Mara's eyes. Something about her expression had changed, calm, almost fearless. Then she whispered, "Now." He hit the switch. The door flew open, and Mara threw the glowing cube into the storm. The world exploded in white light. Asterisk. The light swallowed everything. Elias couldn't see, couldn't breathe, only feel the ground tremble beneath him. A deafening roar filled his ears, and for a moment, it felt like the air itself had been ripped apart. Then silence. He blinked, his vision slowly returning. The outpost door was half melted, glowing red from the blast. Outside, the mud was burning, and 3 armored bodies lay motionless, their armor cracked open like shells. Mara stood near the entrance, breathing hard, her hair whipping in the cold wind. The cube she had thrown was gone, vaporized, but it had done something no human-made weapon could. Elias stared at her. What was that?" Mara didn't answer at first. She looked at the fallen mercenaries with a strange mix of relief and sorrow. "It wasn't supposed to do that much damage," she whispered. "It's unstable tech." "Her father warned me." "Her father?" Elias asked, lowering his rifle slightly. "Yes," she said softly. "He wasn't human." Elias's stomach tightened. The pieces were starting to fit, but the picture they made didn't make sense. Mara turned toward him, her eyes full of something ancient, grief, fear, and a secret she could no longer hide. Leary's father was a Zareth, a scientist from beyond the border systems. He worked on hybrid genetics, trying to prove humans and Zareth could coexist. Elias felt the chill run down his spine. The Zareth were powerful, cold, and logical, not exactly known for compassion. So he experimented on humans? She shook her head quickly. No, he fell in love with one. The words hit Elias harder than he expected. Love between species was rare, dangerous even. But the way she said it wasn't a defense. It was confession. "I didn't plan any of it," she said, her voice trembling. "But when Leary was born, we knew she was different. Not just half-blood. Something new." Elias frowned. "Different how?" Mara glanced toward the storage room. "She can connect with things, machines, energy, even people. Sometimes she sees things before they happen." He stared at her in disbelief. "You mean?" "Yes," Mara said. "She's the reason the Purity Order is hunting us. They think she's a weapon." Elias rubbed his temple, trying to process it all. The room smelled of smoke and metal. The mercenaries outside weren't moving, but he knew more would come. "We can't stay here," he muttered. "That blast probably sent a signal across the region." "I know," Mara said quietly. "But she's too weak to travel. That energy pulse drains her every time she uses it." Elias looked toward the child, sleeping again, her faint glow dimmer than before. She looked peaceful, unaware of the chaos around her. He sighed deeply. "You and your daughter just brought war to my doorstep." Mara looked down. "Then why didn't you throw us out?" Elias paused. There was no simple answer. Maybe it was pity. Maybe guilt, or maybe he saw something in that little girl's eyes, something worth protecting. "Because I've already lost enough," he said finally. "I'm not losing anyone else." Mara's eyes softened. You've lost family? He nodded once. My wife and my son. During the border raids. Silence hung heavy between them. For a moment, the sound of the wind outside was all that existed. Then Elias straightened. We move at dusk. I know an old supply route that leads to a transport bay. If we can reach it, we can get off this rock. Mara nodded, but her gaze lingered on her daughter. If she wakes up in time. Hours passed. The fire was gone, replaced by cold and shadow. Elias scavenged what he could: food packs, a power cell, 2 pulse clips. Every sound made his nerves tighten. Then, a soft voice behind him. She's waking up. Mara whispered. Lir. I sat up slowly, her eyes faintly glowing again. Mama, the bad men are not gone. Elias froze. What do you mean? Leary looked toward the door, her voice calm, too calm for a child. They're coming. But not outside. Elias's blood ran cold. He turned toward the storage hatch, the one that led to the tunnels under the outpost. It was open. A shadow moved inside. He raised his rifle, heart pounding. Mara pulled Leary close, whispering prayers under her breath. From the darkness below, a voice echoed, low and metallic. You shouldn't have interfered, Elias Core. He recognized that voice. It had haunted his past, a voice from the war he thought he'd left behind. The intruder stepped into the light, revealing half of his face, human on one side, machine on the other. A cyborg soldier. A ghost from Elias's own unit. Still playing hero, old man? The cyborg sneered. You have something the Order wants. Hand over the girl. And maybe I'll let you die quick. Elias aimed his rifle, his voice steady. You'll have to go through me first. The cyborg smiled, a cold, mechanical grin. I was hoping you'd say that. Asterisk. The moment Elias saw the half-metal face in the flickering light, old memories tore open like wounds that never healed. The smell of burnt steel, the screams of dying soldiers, the fire-lit chaos of the border wars, all of it came flooding back. The man standing before him had once been his brother in arms. Commander Rusk Valen. A decorated soldier. Brave, loyal. Until he sold his humanity for power. Elias tightened his grip on the rifle. You should have stayed dead. Rusk chuckled, a hollow metallic sound. You should have retired when you had the chance. But here you are, protecting alien trash. Mara flinched at the words but said nothing. She held Leary tighter, whispering softly to keep the girl calm. Leary's small hand glowed faintly blue against her mother's chest. Elias took a step forward. What do you want with them? Rusk's red cybernetic eye blinked once, scanning the room. You know what she is. The Order has been hunting the hybrid child for months. She's not just some freak of nature. She's the key to ending everything. Ending what? Elias demanded. The divide, Rusk said with a cruel grin. Once we extract what's in her blood, we'll finally have a way to purge all alien influence from humanity. No more wars. No more fear. Pure perfection. Elias's stomach twisted. You mean genocide? Rusk tilted his head. Evolution. The word hung in the air like poison. Before Elias could respond, Rusk raised his cybernetic arm. The built-in blaster hummed, charging energy. Elias dove behind a metal crate as a bolt of plasma exploded across the wall, sending debris flying. The outpost shook. Sparks showered the floor. Mara screamed as Leary covered her ears, eyes glowing brighter, now almost white. Stay down! Elias shouted. He peeked from behind cover and fired 3 quick bursts. The first missed. The second hit Rusk's shoulder, sending the spray of molten metal. The third shattered a nearby pipe, filling the air with steam. Rusk laughed through the smoke. You're still slow, old man. He moved faster than Elias expected, his mechanical legs hissing as he leapt over the crates. The two men crashed together, the rifle clattering across the floor. Elias swung a wrench from his belt, hitting Rusk's metal jaw. Sparks flew. "Still got fight left in you," Rusk growled, grabbing Elias by the throat. "But it won't save you." Mara tried to move toward them, but Elias shouted, "Stay back." Rusk's grip tightened. "Tell me where the girl is." Elias struggled to breathe. "She's right behind you." Rusk turned slightly, and that's when Leary's glow flared. A wave of blue light erupted from her small hands, flooding the room with energy. Rusk screamed as his mechanical arm sparked violently, circuits frying. The air crackled with electricity, the walls vibrating as if reality itself was shaking. Then everything went still. Rusk fell to one knee, smoke rising from his armor. "What did she do?" he rasped. Leary's voice was soft but clear. "I told you to leave." Rusk stared at her, half in awe, half in rage. You're not supposed to exist." Mara rushed forward, pulling Leary close again. The glow faded from the girl's hands, leaving her trembling and pale. Elias gasped for air, standing weakly. "You should have stayed away, Rusk." Rusk smirked despite the damage. "You think this is over? The Order knows she's here now. You can't hide her forever." He pressed something on his arm, a beacon flashing red, and then hurled a smoke bomb toward the door. When the haze cleared, he was gone. The silence that followed was heavier than before. Elias leaned against the wall, coughing. "That signal. It'll bring more of them." Mara nodded grimly. "Then we have to move. Tonight." Elias looked at her, then at Leary, who sat quietly, staring at her glowing palms. "That thing she did, can she control it?" Mara hesitated. "Sometimes. But it takes everything from her. Her father said it wasn't meant to be a weapon. It's a connection. She can reach into machines, even minds. But every time she uses it, it hurts her." Elias ran a hand through his hair. "Then we can't rely on it again. Not unless we have no choice." He moved to the control panel, checking the scanner. Rusk's beacon went active. "We've got 6 hours, maybe less." Mara touched his arm gently. "Why are you helping us, Elias? You could have left us to die." He looked at her tired eyes meeting hers. "Because once, I believed in what Rusk stood for. I built the weapons they use now." The blood on his hands started on mine. "I'm done running from it." Outside, the wind howled again, carrying the faint echo of engines in the distance. Elias tightened his pack straps. "We move before sunset. There's a shuttle hidden in the canyon, old but still functional. It can get us off this world." Leary stood, clutching her mother's hand. "Will there be stars?" she asked softly. Elias smiled faintly. "More than you've ever seen." But as they prepared to leave, none of them noticed the small drone hovering miles away, recording everything: the glow, the faces, the coordinates. The Order was coming, and this time they weren't sending hunters. They were sending an army. Asterisk. By the time the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Outpost 19 had become a graveyard of shadows and smoke. The metal walls creaked with the wind, and the faint hum of approaching engines crawled through the air like thunder in the distance. Elias tightened the straps on his pack and checked the pulse rifle one last time. "We move now. Once we hit the canyon, we stay low and silent. No lights, no talking." Mara nodded, her face pale but determined. Leary clung to her mother's hand, her glowing eyes dimmed under a hood. The small girl said nothing, but every few minutes, she glanced toward the door, as if she could feel the danger coming closer. They slipped into the cold night. The ground was wet and uneven, slick with the remains of the storm. The wind carried whispers of static from the Order scanners, sweeping the area like invisible predators. Elias led the way, his boots crunching softly over broken soil. "Stay close," he whispered. "If we're lucky, The canyon's magnetic field will hide us from their sensors. But luck was never something Elias believed in. Not anymore. After nearly an hour of silent travel, they reached the edge of the canyon. It stretched wide and endless, a dark scar cutting through the land. The stars above glimmered faintly, but the air down there was colder, thick with fog that shimmered faintly blue. "This place," Mara murmured. "It feels alive." Elias nodded grimly. "It is. The old mining operations used gravium veins down there. The energy still hums underground. It'll mess with their tech, but also with ours." He jumped first, sliding down the rocky slope. The air buzzed with static as they descended, and Leary shivered against her mother's shoulder. Once they reached the bottom, Elias led them through narrow tunnels lit only by faint bioluminescent moss. The deeper they went, the stronger the hum grew, a low vibration that settled into their bones. Then Leary stopped. "Someone's here," she whispered. Elias turned sharply. "What do you mean?" She pointed ahead into the dark. "They're waiting." Before Elias could speak, a figure stepped out from the shadows. That it wasn't an order soldier, that it was a woman, tall, wearing a worn exosuit marked with the crest of the old Alliance. Her helmet flickered, and she pulled it off, revealing sharp eyes and a scar running down her cheek. "Elias Core," she said coldly. "Didn't expect to see you alive." Elias's jaw tightened. "Captain Nira Vale, you're still breathing." Mara looked between them. "You two know each other?" "Too well," Elias muttered. Nira crossed her arms. "You have something that doesn't belong to you." Elias raised his weapon slightly. "If you mean the child, she's not property." Nira sighed. "You don't understand. I'm not here for the order. I'm here to stop them. The girl's existence could end everything humans, Zareth, all of it. She's unstable. The tech inside her could tear reality apart." Mara stepped forward protectively. "She's just a child." Nira's gaze softened slightly. "A child carrying a machine heart. The Zareth called it the seed of synthesis. It was meant to unite species. But in the wrong hands, it can rewrite DNA across worlds." Elias felt the ground shift beneath him. "You're saying she's a weapon and a cure?" "Exactly." A faint rumble echoed above the sound of dropships descending. The canyon walls trembled. "They found us," Elias said. Nira looked at him. "Then we don't have time to argue. You help me destroy the seed, or everyone dies." Mara shook her head fiercely. "No, I won't let you touch her." The girl, silent until now, whispered softly, "Mama, they're coming. Lots of them." Elias grabbed his rifle. "We move, now." He led them deeper into the canyon, through a narrow crevice where old mining rails still clung to the walls. Behind them, the engines grew louder, order troopers descending in formation. Plasma lights flared across the rocks. The first shots rang out, blue energy slicing through the fog. Elias returned fire, his shots echoing in the dark. Nira covered his flank, her own weapon blazing red. "You still shoot like a soldier," she yelled. He smirked, despite the chaos. "You still talk too much." Leary clutched Mara's hand tightly, her small frame trembling. "I can stop them," she whispered. Mara turned to her, terrified. "No, Leary, not again. It hurts you." But the girl stepped forward anyway, tears in her glowing eyes. "It hurts more when they kill." Her body began to glow brighter than before, until the air shimmered around her. The ground shook. Rocks floated for a moment, suspended in blue light. Elias and Mara shielded their eyes. Then boom. A silent wave of energy burst outward. The first row of approaching soldiers dropped instantly, their armor shutting down, weapons dead. The shockwave rippled across the canyon, shorting drones, collapsing ships, silencing the battlefield. When the light faded, Leary collapsed into her mother's arms. Elias ran to them, eyes wide. "Is she?" She's alive, Mara whispered, voice breaking. But she won't survive another outburst like that. Nira's face hardened. And now the Order knows exactly what she can do. High above, in the fading blue glow, the sky filled with new lights, hundreds of them. Descending fast, Elias looked up and swore under his breath. That's not just a squad. That's an invasion. He turned to the two women. No more running. We end this here. Asterisk, the sky burned blue. The glow from Leary's power still danced in the air, like ghosts refusing to fade. Elias stared upward, watching the swarm of Order ships descending through the clouds, sleek, black machines that glimmered like knives in the light of the twin moons. They weren't sending scouts this time. They were sending exterminators. Nyara cursed under her breath, checking her rifle. That's a full assault wing. They'll glass the canyon if they have to. Elias knelt beside Leary, who lay weak in her mother's arms. Her breathing was shallow, her faint glow flickering like a dying candle. She can't move yet, Mara said, panic in her voice. That blast took everything she had. Elias looked at her, then at the crumbling rock walls around them. Then we buy her time. He stood, grabbing his rifle. His voice was firm again, the voice of a soldier who had seen too many wars. Nira, there's a defense bunker a mile east, built during the Gravium Wars. If we get inside, we might hold them off long enough to recharge the shuttle. Nira nodded. If it still works. Elias gave a grim half-smile. If it doesn't, I'll make it work. They moved fast. The canyon floor glowed faintly with the residue of Leary's blast. Twisted metal and melted armor scattered everywhere. The air smelled of ozone, and ash. Elias led the way, every sense alert. Behind him, Mara carried Leary close, whispering softly to keep her awake. Nira covered their flank, scanning the sky for movement. Halfway to the bunker, a sharp whine pierced the silence. Drones, down! Elias hissed. They ducked behind a ridge as a pack of silver drones swept overhead, their red sensors scanning the ground. One paused, scanning the heat signature of Leary's faint glow through the dust. Nira aimed. I got it. Wait, Elias said. Too close. You'll draw fire. He reached into his pouch, pulled out a small EMP spike, and flicked it high into the air. It detonated mid-flight, a silent flash, and all three drones dropped like stones. Mara exhaled. You've done this before. Elias's eyes stayed forward. Too many times. They reached the bunker entrance, a massive steel hatch half buried in rock and overgrown vines. Elias typed an old command code into the rusted panel. Nothing happened. He slammed his fist against it. Power's dead. Nira crouched beside him. Step aside. She pulled a short cable from her armor and jammed it into the panel. Sparks flew. The console flickered to life with a low hum. Still a good thief, Elias muttered. Nira smirked. Still an arrogant engineer. The hatch creaked open, releasing a gust of stale air. Inside, the bunker stretched deep into the mountain. Dark corridors lined with forgotten machinery. Elias turned on a dim light. We'll set up in the control room. If the generators still run, I can get the defense turrets back online. They moved quickly through the corridors. The place was ancient, a skeleton of the old war. But Elias's hands knew the controls like an old language. He bypassed the dead panels, rewired the energy cells, and forced the old reactor to life. The floor rumbled as lights flickered on one by one. Outside, the sound of engines drew closer. Mara placed Leary on a medical cot in the corner. The child's glow had dimmed completely now. She looked fragile, small. Almost human again. She's fading, Mara whispered. If we don't get her off this planet, she's not going anywhere yet, Nira interrupted. If the Order reaches her, they'll use her to finish what her father started. Mara's voice cracked. Her father didn't want this. He wanted peace. Elias turned from the console, his face hard. Then why did he put a machine inside his daughter? Mara froze, tears in her eyes. Because he believed it would save us all. Nira scoffed. Save us or erase us? Before Elias could answer, the warning siren blared. Red lights flashed across the bunker walls. They're here, Elias said. The ground trembled as the first plasma blasts hit the canyon above. Dust rained from the ceiling. Elias took his position behind the gun console, activating the turret systems. Nira, take the west corridor. Mara, seal the medical bay door. Don't open it for anyone but me. What about you? Mara asked. Elias smiled faintly. I'll hold the line. The first wave of order soldiers breached the canyon mouth, dark armor glowing under the moonlight. The turrets roared to life, spitting blue fire across the ridge. Explosions shook the earth. Elias fired through the defense slit. Each pulse a burst of white heat. Nira fought beside him, blades flickering as she cut through the first soldiers who breached the lower entrance. The air filled with smoke, plasma, and chaos, but even through the noise, Elias heard something strange, a faint, rhythmic hum coming from the medical bay. He turned and froze. Leary was awake. She stood beside her mother, eyes glowing like twin stars, light spilling across the floor. Mama, she said softly, her voice calm amid the war outside. They're not coming for me anymore. Mara blinked through her tears. What do you mean, sweetheart? Leary turned her gaze upward, through the ceiling, through the storm, as if she could see beyond the world itself. They're coming for him. Elias frowned. Who? The lights flickered. The sound of engines grew deafening. And then a shadow darker than the night itself filled the canyon sky. Mara's voice trembled. Oh my God! That's not the order. The canyon sky cracked open like glass. A colossal ship descended through the clouds, silent, vast, and otherworldly. It wasn't human. Its hull shimmered in fluid shapes, light rippling across it like water catching the sun. Every line, every motion, felt alive. Even the order fleet froze. Their gunship circled warily, scanning the strange vessel but not firing. Fear, rare and raw, rippled through their ranks. Elias watched from the bunker's narrow viewport, his breath catching. That's not one of theirs. Nira's voice trembled for the first time. No, that's Zareth design, but I've never seen anything that big. Mara stood motionless, staring up through the broken ceiling. Her lips parted in disbelief. He found us. Elias turned sharply. Who? Mara's voice was barely a whisper. Leary's father. A beam of soft blue light descended from the alien ship, cutting through the smoke and dust. It touched the canyon floor, and from it, a figure emerged. Tall, luminous, half man, half light. He didn't walk, he flowed. His eyes were the same shade as Leary's glow, and his voice, when it came, was calm and melodic, echoing in the air and inside their minds. Mara. My heart, you survived. Tears welled in Mara's eyes. Kale. Elias watched the reunion with a soldier's suspicion. Every instinct screamed danger. That's her father? He muttered to Nira. Kale turned toward him, as if hearing the thought. Yes, and the one who kept them alive. He bowed his head slightly. For that, human, you have my gratitude. Elias lowered his weapon, but didn't relax. You're late to your own family's rescue. Kale's expression darkened. The order's reach is vast. I was hunted, wounded, forced to hide until I could return. His gaze shifted toward Leary, who stood behind her mother, small and fragile, yet glowing brighter than ever. And now the seed has awakened. Nira stepped forward, her weapon aimed. If you're here to take her, you'll have to go through us. Kale didn't move. You misunderstand. I came not to take her, but to stop what she's becoming. Mara's voice broke. No, you said she was meant to unite us, to bring peace. Kale looked at her, pain flickering in his eyes. She was. But the seed evolved faster than I expected. It's not just merging human and Zareth DNA anymore. It's rewriting existence. Every pulse she releases changes the fabric of reality. One more surge, and it won't stop. Elias's throat tightened. You mean she could destroy everything? Or reshape it, Kale said softly. Into something. No longer human. Outside, the Order fleet broke formation. Their commander's voice blared through speakers across the canyon. This is Commander Rusk Valen of the Purity Order. All forces, target the alien ship. Wipe it from the sky. Mara grabbed Kale's arm. They'll kill you. Kale smiled faintly. They can try. He turned toward the heavens. The ship above shimmered, and with one graceful gesture, it unleashed a wave of light that rippled through the clouds. The Order's ships fired, but their bolts dissolved midair, melting into harmless sparks. Elias stared, speechless. That's impossible. Kale glanced back. Your kind calls it impossible. Mine calls it forgiveness. But even as he said it, his glow flickered and blood, silver and blue, trickled from his mouth. He was dying. Mara reached for him. Kale, no. He touched her cheek gently. My time is done. But hers is not. His gaze fell on Leary. The seed has chosen her. She can either bring harmony or end it all. Leary's small voice trembled. I don't want to hurt anyone. Kale smiled sadly. Then you must choose love over fear. The air rumbled. Rusk's remaining forces broke through the canyon ridge, plasma fire lighting the night. Elias turned to Kale. You're too weak to fight. Let me handle this. Kale nodded. Protect them. The human and the alien exchanged one silent look, not of enemies, but of men who understood the cost of war. Elias sprinted toward the defense console. The turrets roared back to life. Blue fire lit the walls. Rusk himself descended through the chaos, armor burning from earlier damage, his red eye glowing. Still playing savior, Elias? He spat. You think you can protect that abomination? Elias aimed his rifle at him. She's not an abomination. She's hope. They clashed, man versus machine. Sparks flew. Plasma bolts burned the ground. Elias fought like a man who had already accepted his death. Rusk raised his arm for the killing blow, but a flash of blue stopped him. Leary stood there, glowing brighter than the stars. The air bent around her. No more, she said softly. The world froze. The blasts halted midair. The soldiers stopped moving. Even the wind held its breath. Leary walked forward and touched Rusk's metal chest. You're full of pain, she whispered. You don't need to be. Light poured from her hand, not violent, not burning, but gentle. Rusk's cybernetic parts melted away, revealing the scarred human beneath. He fell to his knees, eyes wide, as if seeing for the first time. And then the light spread, through the canyon, the machines, the sky itself. When it faded, silence returned. The Order's ships were gone. The Zareth vessel too. Only the stars remained, shining brighter than ever. Elias blinked. The canyon was quiet. Mara held Leary in her arms, tears streaming down her face. Kale was gone. Only a shimmer of light lingered where he had stood. Leary looked up at Elias, her voice small. Did I do the right thing? Elias knelt beside her, resting a hand on her shoulder. You did what no one else could. You gave them peace. Mara smiled weakly. What happens now? Elias looked toward the stars. Now. We start over. And as the three of them walked away into the dawn, the universe watched, holding its breath, wondering if at last, the child who carried both light and blood had truly ended the war, or only begun something new. The end.